myself for this video. I'm going to be telling you guys about my 15 and pregnant story. So it started off, let's just start off by saying I kind of already knew that I was pregnant. I was getting the symptoms. I was getting nausea, fatigue. Like it really sucked. I couldn't eat anything. So on Thanksgiving, November of 2014 is the day that I actually threw up for the very first time. But I was feeling terrible for like a whole month. But I was still trying not to stress it. And then, let's see. So I threw up, and then that's when I started really freaking out. I probably started making myself feel way worse by freaking out. So I ended up going to the hospital. Yes, sucky. It was on Thanksgiving. I ended up going to the hospital where they confirmed that I was pregnant. My dad was shocked. Desmond, he like didn't believe me at first. I was like, come on. Like, we knew what we were doing. So I told my mom was very disappointed, but I mean, that's any mom, you know, so I couldn't blame her. She came around though, which made my pregnancy better once she did. So when I left the hospital, they were saying that they estimated that I was 6 weeks. When I had my first doctor's appointment, which was in December, they said I was 8 weeks. And I got an ultrasound, and he was like this little. It was so crazy. I mean, every moment of it was just crazy. So once I found out I was pregnant, I was a little bit more scared to go to school because I was scared of what people were going to say and think of me, even though I really shouldn't have cared what anybody had to say about me. It still just, you know, would have got to my head. I also missed a lot of school because I was in and out of the hospital due to the fact that I couldn't eat until my doctor prescribed me, this amazing drug. If you guys know what it is, you mommies out there, it's called Zofran, and it helps with like nausea and vomiting. It did wonders for me because I had nausea and vomiting throughout my whole pregnancy, so I needed that like my whole pregnancy. But it was amazing. It saved my life. I was able to actually eat. So at 11 weeks I found out that I was having a boy. And then let's see, I didn't start showing. I was so small, and I don't know if it was because I'm really little. I'm only 5'1", and I only weigh 98 pounds, so that's probably why, and also because it was my first pregnancy, because the doctor would say that you carry very small for your first child. So I was like really tiny. I didn't start showing until I was about 20 weeks, 21 weeks. Once I started feeling like him kick and flutter is when my stomach started to bulge out more. Let's see. I had my baby shower, of course, when I was 35 weeks. I had him when I was 37 weeks. But yeah, Desmond was very supportive throughout the whole thing. I mean, like, he stepped up, he got a job. Everybody doubted us, of course. I mean, they were looking at the fact that we were so young that we couldn't do it. We proved everybody wrong, honestly. I stopped caring about what everybody had to say. It stopped getting to me after a while. I came out to everybody that I was pregnant when I was 7 months because, again, I could hide it for that long because I was so small. But kids at school were starting to catch on. So I was like, you know what, let me just go ahead and tell everybody, break the news. So we did that over Facebook, and then the next day I came to school, everybody's like, oh my god, can I touch your belly, let me see your belly, and stuff like that. I really didn't, and that also made me feel so much better, because I really didn't expect people's reaction to be that. I expected people to talk badly about me and say that I was going to be a bad mom, and you know, stuff like that, you know, things that teen moms go through, you know. So that wasn't it at all. Like, that wasn't the case. People were so proud or whatever, but one advice that I give you guys, don't expect to keep your friends, because your friends are only your friends when it's beneficial to them. Once my friends found out I was pregnant and I couldn't do the things that they could do anymore, they stopped messing with me. They didn't ask how I was doing. They didn't ask how the baby was doing, if I needed anything, if I wanted to hang out. They didn't care about all that. So, I mean, that's one thing. Once you find out you're pregnant and everybody knows that you have a kid, all of those friends, you can say bye to them, because they don't care. And that's when I realized that there's no real friends. All my friends aren't real. I don't have any true friends. Until this day, I still don't have any real friends. But that's just living in this generation, you know. Everybody wants to party, smoke, and drink, and I don't do that. And it's okay. I'm a boring person. I'd rather just stay at home. So it was whatever to me. It didn't really bother me. That was my sophomore year. For my junior year, I ended up not even going back to the high school that I went to. I ended up going to online school, where I graduated as a junior. So, I mean, again, I proved everybody wrong that I could do it. If it wasn't for my son, I wouldn't have had such a push and such a motivation. He's the one who definitely motivated me to get it done. At the time, I was going to school my junior year online. I was also working. Sometimes I was put as full-time, sometimes I was put as part-time, but it didn't matter, because so young, I had bills that needed to be paid. Me and Desmond, we had our first apartment. So, I mean, I was all like, you know, I just got to push myself. I got to have that motivation. I don't care. Somehow I'm going to make it happen. And I did, you know, and that's what makes me proud of myself. So, that's when I just stopped caring, you know. I didn't care about friends who wanted to hang out with me. All I cared about was making sure that I'm doing whatever it takes to make sure that my son is straight and that I'm keeping a roof over his head. So, I mean, for all of you who are young and have a baby, you guys already know how it is. Maybe some of you guys have it better than me and actually kept your friends, but that wasn't the case for me. You guys know people love to talk. You just really can't care about what anybody has to say. So it was just whatever. I was glad. When I came out to everybody, it was May. And, you know, May is also when school was going to be out. So I didn't have a lot more time before it was going to be summer anyways. So I was like, hey, I was due in July, so I was just like, yeah, you know what, perfect time to come out. I don't have to worry about what anybody has to say. But again, that wasn't the case. Nobody said anything to me, of course, probably behind my back, but oh well, you know. I also wasn't the only teen pregnant person, so that's probably why too. People were probably like, you know what, there's 2 other teen moms too, so hey, congratulations, whatever. So let's talk about, I'm going to tell you guys about my labor and delivery story. Mine was not terrible at all, and people find it weird when I say this, but I tell them, I'm like, I will do it a million times if it goes as smoothly as it did for my first. But so I was 37 weeks. I had an appointment earlier that day, and my doctor checked my cervix to see if I was dilating. And he, you know, he's checking, and then he takes his gloves off or whatever, and he's all like, how far apart did you say your contractions were? I was all like, what? I don't think I'm having contractions. And he was like, you're 4 to 5 centimeters dilated. I was like, wait, I was like, what does that mean? Because I didn't know. He's like, that means baby could come anytime, probably tonight, if not tonight, tomorrow. So I definitely be on call. I was like, what? Oh my God. Desmond's looking over there like, I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. So little did I know, he ended up coming. It was early morning the next day. So I walked around the Walmart, which was so hard for me because if any of you guys know, the end of pregnancy is so miserable. Like walking, it's like you really have to push yourself, and you know, I was tiny, so me having a hard time tells you a lot. So it was so hard for me. I still thought I was having Braxton Hicks contractions. I didn't feel any pain. It was just amazing. I just had to pee a lot. So I wake up later, early that morning, the next day. It was about 2 in the morning, and I called Desmond. I'm like, oh my God, I think it's time. I was having terrible back pain, which I guess the doctor says it's back labor. So yeah, I was having terrible back labor, and they ended up admitting me, of course. So I called Desmond, right, and I'm like, oh, it's time, it hurts, my back hurts. And he talks about I'm going back to sleep, and hangs up. It's like, alrighty, that's fine. But then I call him again. I'm all like, hang up on me again and see what happens. I just said it's time, so you need to get up. I don't care if you're tired. You're not going back to sleep. Your kid is going to be born today. Get up and meet me at the hospital. Because that's the time we were living together. So, but yeah, so he meets me at the hospital or whatever. I get there. My hospital was so way out. My mom was like lost. I'm like, oh my God, come on. They put me in triage, checked my cervix. I was 6 to 7 centimeters. So they admitted me, gave me my room. It hit about 4 o'clock. I got my epidural, and 4 in the morning, sorry guys. I got my epidural, and oh man, it was all bad. Like, I couldn't stay still for the nurse was like, please, you need to stay still. I couldn't. I don't know, it hit my nerve. I was like, ooh. But yeah, so I finally got my epidural. A little after I got my epidural, my water ended up breaking by itself, and then it just hit the fan. These lights start coming on. My doctor came in. They was like, you are 9 centimeters. 5 minutes, I'm coming back in, and you're gonna start to push. Started pushing, only pushed for 5 minutes. I pushed probably like 2-3 times. It was about 3 times. And boom, he was here. He was born at 7:38 a.m. He weighed 5 pounds 9 ounces. He was 19 inches long. Yes, he was very tiny because I told you guys, like, I was so small. I carried so small. So He was so tiny, so healthy. He was so beautiful. It was like the most craziest experience ever, but like if I could relive it, I would relive it over and over and over again. It was so amazing. So yeah, we stayed in the hospital for about a day and a half. He got his circumcision or whatever. We ended up discharging later that evening. The next day, Desmond ended up going back to work. I got to bring him home, and it was just like the best feeling ever. I mean, and at that point, I really didn't care what anybody had to say. I just didn't care about anybody. It was all about my son. Like, he was my world until this day. Like, he's just such a blessing, It is. It's such a blessing. I don't regret any of it, honestly. Yeah, I was young, and we should have waited, but it happened, and miracles happen all the time, so there's never a time and place for miracles to happen, and he was definitely my miracle. I hope you guys enjoyed my 15 and pregnant story. There's more videos to come, so thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.